Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of The Healthy Widower. Tonight I'm going to be making broccoli cheese soup. Like a lot of my dishes, this is a dish my wife used to make for me that I've improved on over the last 2 years. About a year ago, my granddaughter Haley was visiting me and she asked me to make broccoli cheese soup. I said, well, I need to look up a recipe. So the recipe I've looked up also includes celery, carrots, and onions, so it makes for a really nice vegetable soup just flavored with cheese. Haley is a really healthy eater herself. She likes to eat vegetables and fruits whenever she's at my house. And it was her and her little brother are two of the people that helped inspire me on my health journey. About a year and a half ago, I was at church with them. I was leaving the parking lot. I asked if their seatbelts were on. And they asked, what about you, Papa? Is your seatbelt on? I said, no, it's not. They said, you need to put your seatbelt on too, and you need to eat healthier, eat more fruits and vegetables, because you're the only grandparent we have left, and we want you to stick around for a while. So that is one of the reasons why I decided to start eating healthier. Anyway, this soup takes about 20 minutes to cook, and we'll start off by melting some coconut oil, and then sauteing the onions. So the first thing I've done is taken a large pan, put some coconut oil, put the heat on medium-high, and I've allowed the coconut oil to start melting. Next, I'm going to take a quarter of an onion and chop that up into little pieces, and then we'll add that to the pan to start sauteing. Now, as you've seen, I've chopped up the onion. I've added that to the pan. And I'm just going to let that saute for about 5 minutes. Now, after that onion is good and sauteed, I'm next going to add some chicken broth, some organic chicken broth. It's a box that I got from Walmart. You can see it's 32 ounces. And I'm just going to add the whole carton of chicken broth. So that chicken broth is now my liquid. For the rest of the soup, I don't add any water. I just let the chicken broth be the liquid. And next, I'm going to add celery, which I've already cut up, carrots, which are already shredded, and broccoli. So I'll go ahead and add those and show you what that looks like. Now, as you can see, I've added that chopped up celery. I've cut up some broccoli florets. And I've added some carrots. And I'm going to let that cook for 20 minutes until that broccoli and celery is nice and soft. And before I cook it, I'm going to add my favorite spices, which again are onion powder, lemon pepper, and garlic powder. I love using those spices and things. It really does flavor it up. And I don't use salt because a friend of mine advised me that salt would raise my blood pressure. So I quit using salt in most of my dishes. Okay, and now I've added the spice. So I'm going to let that simmer for about 20 minutes. Okay, so now I've got this boiling. It's been cooking for about 20 minutes, so the broccoli and the celery is all soft. So then I'm going to add butter, almond milk, and cheese sauce. So the butter I use is unsalted butter, and I'm going to just put about a half a stick of butter in the soup. So I've added the butter, and I'm letting that melt in. Then I'm also going to add some almond milk. Now the almond milk I use instead of regular milk. I use that exclusively now in everything. And the reason I use almond milk is because it's got less carbs than regular milk, so that's better for my diabetes. And it's also got less sugar. So it's better for me all around. So then I've poured in some almond milk, and I don't really measure it. I just kind of pour as I see fit. And then I'm going to add cheese sauce. Now the cheese sauce I'm using is Velveeta cheese sauce in a packet. And I just use one packet. I used to use like a whole half thing of Velveeta cheese and put it into chunks. That added a lot of fat and a lot of carbs. Now, one of my friends suggested I not use cheese at all, but I just like the cheesy flavor. And the one cheese packet I'm adding only has 14 grams of fat. I know it adds more fat to the dish, but it also adds more flavor. I used to be a cheeseaholic. I would have cheese with everything. In fact, I would have a melted bowl of shredded cheese as a snack, and it showed in my weight. My wife used to look at me lovingly and said, "That's a cheese gut." And that's back when I weighed 260 pounds. So I have cut way back on the cheese, but I just can't seem to give it up altogether. Cheese does add some flavor to some dishes, and hey, I gotta have some guilty pleasures. So now I've added the cheese sauce, and I let that all melt in, along with the butter and the almond milk. So that's what the mixture looks like right now. But now I gotta add one more thing. I gotta add something to thicken it up. Now I've used cornstarch before, and cornstarch has a lot of carbs. So I'm trying a new ingredient tonight. And let's just see how that works. So the new ingredient I'm trying is xanthan gum. And what I've read, this is a gluten-free baking alternative to cornstarch. And it's supposed to be a good thickener. So we're going to try it. I'm going to put about 3 big tablespoons full in there and see how well it thickens it up. And again, this is an experiment, so you're going to experiment it with me. So now I've added the xanthan gum, and now I realized I made a mistake. It is thickening it up, it looks like, but I should have mixed the xanthan gum with water first to get it a more smooth texture, because you can see that it's in there a little clumpy. So definitely the next time I do this, I'm going to mix it up with water first and then add it in. So that'll reduce the clumpiness. But as you can see, it is boiling. It is thickening up. So that's it. The soup is done. Now all I've got to do is taste it. So this is what the soup looks like now that it's all done. Wow, doesn't that look good? I'm sure I've got a few extra bowls to share, and I sure would love to some company. So why don't you come over and join me for a delicious bowl of broccoli cheese soup? And we'll have a good conversation, too. That's it for this week's episode of The Healthy Widower. Thank you, and have a pleasant evening.